So this meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted on the Arlington County Commission Meetings YouTube page. Avoid sharing any information that you would not like to be made public. In addition, if everyone could please state your name before speaking, it helps everyone follow along and makes the conversation more efficient. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. So welcome, JD Spain. We're delighted to have you as our board liaison. We're really delighted for all your support so far and really looking forward to working with you. So our first order of business is we have a presentation from Angie De La Barrera, program update, proposed rate change for taxis. So welcome, Angie. You have about 10 minutes to present, and we have about 5 minutes or so for questions. So over to you.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Volume too loud, or is it okay?
Oh, we're good.
That's good.
Okay, so my name is Angie De La Barrera, and I'm with Transportation Planning in the Department of Environmental Services. And let me share my screen really quick. All right. Okay. There we go. So tonight I'm going to present on the proposed amendment to the Arlington County Taxi Code in reference to an increase. The Arlington County Taxi Cab companies requested a fare increase as part of the 2025 biennial fare review, citing inflation, rising costs, and difficult attracting drivers. The initial drop is $350 and it's going to go up to $450. The distance charge was 40 cents per 1/6 of a mile, and it's going to go up to 52 cents per 1/5 of a mile. And the waiting time is going to go from 40 cents to 52 cents per 56 seconds. And this will be effective January 1, 2026. Okay, so why is the fare increase happening? The last modest increase happened in 2023. Before that, it was in 2016. Rising cost has happened since 2023. Insurance has gone up about 25%, and maintenance and repair has gone up at about 11%. The inflation is impacting the driver's earnings, but one of the biggest challenges that has happened, Arlington County was the first jurisdiction to increase rates after almost a decade. So the industry was concerned, so they only did a very modest increase. But since then, all the other jurisdictions have increased their rates, which is making really difficult to recruit and retain drivers. And then, so what is this going to look like? The current fare, if you go about 5 miles, it costs $15.50. With the proposed fare, it's going to go up to $17.50. That's a difference of about $2. If you take about a 10-mile trip, the increase is going to be about $3, and about a 25-mile trip, like from here, from the county to Dallas Airport, it's going to be about $6. And that's going to be the difference of the increase. How do we compare with the other jurisdictions? The light blue is our current, and the dark blue is the proposed. The pink and purple are the other Virginia jurisdictions. The green tones are Maryland, red is DC, and the Washington Flyers in gray. If you look at the difference in the charts here for 5, 10, and 25, specifically the jurisdictions that have increased their rates, with our proposed rates, we're about the same as Alexandria and DC and the Washington Flyer. Prince George's County is reviewing their rates currently, so that is going to change. It looks as the cheapest right now, but they're going to change because they're reviewing their rates right now. And then one thing that the Arlington County industry is doing, they're signing up a partnership with DAC. That's an app. It's an app for dispatch. So they're going to bring this technology to the Arlington taxi cabs. You'll be able to, through your phone, e-hail taxi cab, and you can also do payments. It should help with wait times and improve the service, and hopefully bring new business to the industry. Okay, and so in summary, the fare adjust aligns with the regional rates. It supports driver retention and recruitment. The integration of the app base should help the industry as well. There's no fiscal impact to the county, and the rates will be effective January 1st. It needs county board approval. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
So, thank you, Angie. I'm sure that commissioners have questions, so let's turn it over to the commissioners to see what questions. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew. Thank you for the presentation. So as far as I understood it, part of the justification for raising our fares is because our regional comparatives have also raised their rates. But just out of curiosity, today I looked at other private options, one of them being Uber, and the 5-mile ride on the Uber was actually cheaper than our current rate, and that was for a wheelchair accessible vehicle. So I'm just curious, when it comes to increasing the rate, I think that a lot of consumers will have the question of value proposition, like why would I take a taxi when I can just take an Uber, which is comparatively cheaper, right? So I'm just curious, I'm not opposed to necessarily raising the rates, but I'm just curious how it'll affect demand for the taxis.
That's a great question. So Uber and Lyft is not regulated at the local level. It's only regulated at the state level. So we have no say, and they have the dynamic pricing, which we don't regulate them. So we can't adjust, we can't tell them when to charge and how much to charge and so on. We did an analysis 2 years ago. We had the resources. We had a couple interns that did random request for Uber and Lyft through a 3-week period, 3 times a day, weekends, and so on. And actually, taxi rates with the proposed that there were back then, which are our existing ones, they came in between the rates that they got during that 3-week period. But then there was that, I think it was some sort of big event. I think it was I don't know if it was the Super Bowl or something. Rates just skyrocketed for Uber and Lyft. And so that's the predictability that you have with taxi industry. It's regulated. You're always going to get the same rate. You're not going to get those surcharge that Uber and Lyft are capable, but taxi companies cannot. So I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Other questions? I have a question. This is Karen Odon.
There's the question, Madam Chair. Is it, this is Courtney speaking, is it projected to go down at any time?
Is it
projected to go down at any time in terms of the fares?
No, the fare's the propose is to, sorry, I hear an echo every time I speak. I don't know if it's me or, but there's the rates we're proposing to do a slight increase that would be effective January 1st, 2026. It's not projected to go down. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Did you?
Okay. This is Karen Odon. My question is about the iCabby dispatch system. My understanding is that it's an app and it's going to be adopted in Arlington County. And I wondered what your plans were for user acceptance testing, especially in the disability community, to make sure that it actually is accessible for people with disabilities and they're not disadvantaged.
Sure. And that was one of my top questions when this brought up. Let me just say that this was an incentive by the taxi industry The county facilitated the discussions, but we didn't get involved in the procurement process. This was the taxi industry. They interviewed 3 companies and they chose iCabby at the end. But one of the questions that I did ask was that you'll be able to request a wheelchair accessible vehicles.
So that actually is not all of my question. My question is, if a resident who is a person with disabilities needs to reserve a cab, is that accessible if they're a person with, you know, a motor, a hearing, or a vision challenge?
Yeah, I'll double check on that. I'm not 100% sure since the county wasn't really procuring the software.
Well, but information technology procured, used by county government has to be accessible. So
I'll check on that for sure.
I would say we're really interested in user acceptance testing or any kind of testing to make sure that it is accessible. Thank you.
I'll report to Courtney back.
Anyone else? Andrew,
Oh, I have another question.
please.
This is Andrew speaking. So I was just looking over chapter 25.1, and I noticed that there's language in there that the county manager has to determine how many certificates to give out, and also you know, for quality assurance and making sure that, you know, we give out a certain number of these certificates. But is there any anticipation of meeting that cap? The county need to give out more certificates, or is that not really an issue at this point?
So our chapter 25.1 has a biennial process. Every even number, we look at the number of certificates, and the odd number, we look at the fares. So this year we looked at the fares. Next year we'll be looking at the number of taxi cabs that it's needed. But I can tell you from last year, and you can go to our website and find the report. We did a big analysis. We look at population, employment, tourism, and the dispatch that the larger companies provide. And it was determined that there was no need for additional taxi cabs last year. We'll do the same analysis next year. If there is, you know, any data points that suggest that we need additional taxi cabs. Also, even though that we put this report and we make the analysis, anyone making a different case can also apply to additional taxi cabs. So that's a process that we do every other year, starting next year again.
Okay, and I have a follow-up question, if that's all right.
Sure.
So during that process, does the county determine, hey, we need X amount of wheelchair accessible vehicles, or is that part of the determination process?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the last year's report, you'll see a section about the wheelchair accessible vehicles. And you'll see the dispatch numbers for those, how many they are, and what are they, you know, it talks about the START program and other things. Correct.
This is Marilyn. I can't raise my hand for some reason. I just have a quick recommendation, or I'm curious as to whether there could be an analysis at some point between STAR, taxi cabs, and Uber Lyft. From our perspective, I'm just kind of thinking of like a matrix or something that would really help people understand what's the difference, what's the pluses and minuses between those versus cost. That's something to think about. I'm not, you know, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It would be great. We can do it on the taxi front because we regulate them. We can ask them for the data. We can ask them for the information. It's harder when it's Uber and Lyft at the state level, and the state does not require them to provide this data, and we have no jurisdiction over them. And then private companies, we can ask maybe through the START program, but I'm not sure how much information we can request.
Maybe a sampling. It could be something that somebody could initiate as a sampling.
Sure. No, I applaud the idea.
I also have a question and wasn't able to raise my hand. This is Elizabeth Prio. I'm one of the commissioners. I did come 2 minutes late. Did I miss why you're doing this? Because I mean, you can call taxis now, and it doesn't sound like this taxi service was supposed to be any more accessible than the ones you can already call?
Sure. So the reason we are looking at increasing fares, the industry came to us to request for this increase, mainly citing inflation cost, especially I think it was the insurance has gone up about 25% just in 2 years, and the maintenance and repair has gone up about 11% in the 2 years. But also what has happened is 2 years ago, the county did a modest increase, but other jurisdictions have increased significantly more and is attracting the drivers. So the companies could not get drivers to work because they rather work for other jurisdictions where they can make more money.
Okay, yeah, I heard that. It's still very confusing to me. I don't understand. I mean, maybe I don't. I mean, I can call a red top cab right now. Are you saying this is not going to be a red top cab? And I mean, or are you just trying to tell us that red top cabs are going to get more expensive and now there's an app where you can call?
So 2 things here. Red Top should be the same service. We're not touching the service. What's going to go up is a slight increase on the fare. It's going to go up, for example, for a 5-mile trip, it's going to go up $2. That's the only change that's happening. But I guess, and then another topic is Arlington County taxi cab companies has signed up an agreement with iCabby, which is an app base. They're trying to get more business, trying to help get more business. And so they're hoping that this app base will help them generate more income to their drivers.
Okay, okay, that makes about as much sense as I thought it was. I think it's a good thing because I have a son, and about 5 years ago, maybe even more, 6, where you could already call an Uber or a Lyft or whatever. We try to support the taxi cabs. You know, we don't want them to go out of business because they have requirements for accessibility that Uber doesn't. And when we try to use an app or something, I don't know what Red Tap said had they had the service for us to pay in advance or something like that, and it completely failed. So now I can sort of understand why you're doing this. Not thanks.
We have another question.
Yeah, I know the last time the staff came to present the rate increase, there was a reported significant decrease in ADA accessible taxi cabs. Do we know how many active ADA accessible taxi cabs there is now in Arlington?
Sure. So Red Top has 20 authorized wheelchair accessible vehicles, and Blue Top has 9 authorized wheelchair accessible vehicles. That number hasn't changed since probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it is, I would tell you this is one of the reasons I do the work I do, just to make sure that we keep those wheelchair accessible vehicles. The board has been very generous in the recent years, decreasing the cost. For example, every taxi has to used to have to pay an annual fee to the county to have the right to operate. And the board was really generous a couple years ago. And, we try to go for just the wheelchair accessible vehicles, but actually the board gave them waived the fee for all. It's an ecosystem. You need the good airport runs to have the wheelchair accessible. So I'm always protecting those wheelchair accessible, but we need sort of the ecosystem for the whole thing. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I know that was a topic of discussion, that there was a significant increase and it was due to the cost of these vehicles and the fact that it's 20 Red Top vehicles for their entire service area. So not just Arlington County, but Fairfax, Alexandria, Prince William, Loudoun. So it's a very dispersed resource. And I know it's striking the balance between what is the county's responsibility and what is the service provider's responsibility. And you know, is there a way for our county to provide low cost loans to support, you know, ADA accessible taxi cabs only, since I think those, last time I checked, it was almost 6 figures to get a you know, an accessible van, from my understanding. And now with inflation, I'm sure we're topping in an extra 50 grand on that. So it's just more of like, you know, are we hearing that service providers are, you know, predicting a roll off of those vehicles? Is there a need for either the county or the Metropolitan Council of Governments or some other, you know, network that can provide, you know, loans, so we can ensure we're increasing the stock where needed, but also maintaining what very little stock we have?
The request would have to come from the industry itself, for loans request. At this time, I cannot, I haven't heard any requests from that. And I would say that the 29 authorized wheelchair accessible, those are Arlington County taxi cabs. Every jurisdiction has their jurisdiction taxi cabs, and these are Arlington County taxi cabs.
Just to clarify, so the 29 taxi cabs only operate in the county, if I'm understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Or
They're authorized by the county to provide service for Arlington County residents and people traveling here.
Those, like, Red Cab isn't dedicating 20 just to operate in Arlington. That would be, they're allowed to spread that between Fairfax and other surrounding jurisdictions.
They so Fairfax County has their own regulations and their own taxi cabs. Arlington has their regulations and their taxi cabs, including the wheelchair accessible. You could take, as an Arlington resident, for example, you could take a wheelchair accessible Arlington County wheelchair accessible taxi cab to go to Fairfax.
Mhm.
But that taxi cab cannot pick up someone at Fairfax and go, let's say, to DC. They could, essentially, let's say you go to a doctor at Fairfax,
Mhm.
and you can call at Arlington County taxi cab wheelchair accessible vehicle at Fairfax to bring you back home in Arlington. As long as one end of the trip is in Arlington, because it is an Arlington taxi cab, you can use Arlington taxi cabs for that. But if it's like Fairfax to DC or Maryland or something, no, you are not, that's against the rules.
Okay.
So the 20 from Red Top and the 9 from Blue Top are authorized for Arlington County taxi cabs, wheelchair accessible taxi cabs.
I don't think I'm still understanding, but for the interest of time, I will
Sure.
email Courtney a more detailed written question, just so I can
Perfect.
understand that.
Can I?
Perfect. Be happy to.
Yes, please.
Angie, I think I know where Brian is heading with this this question is just with some level of clarity and certainty, the 29 taxi cabs that you mentioned. First, let me ask this, are they home-based in Arlington?
The driver could live somewhere else, but when he clocks in, if you want to call it that way, he has to, let's say, for example, he gets a call
Okay,
to pick up someone at Fairfax and come back to Arlington. As long as one end of the trip it's in Arlington, that's what the home base is for that person. I mean, not home base, but that's his work.
okay, so there's no restriction thereof that prohibits the taxis outside of if someone calls for a wheelchair accessible van or whatever. There's no restriction that says if they're not being called that they could not, in fact, pick up a person in Arlington or pick up someone in Alexandria and take them to DC. That's what we're getting at, right? There's no restriction. on our
Correct.
end.
You would have to
But we-
call
Mhm.
an
Gotcha.
Alexandria cab or DC cab.
So in any given time, we should have 29 taxis available in Arlington. Plus or minus during the day, whatever, but to the point, because there's 29, if we call, all 29 are not going to be out at use at the same time, I wouldn't think, but we should have 29 available.
So so they're authorized to operate. if the driver, for example, these are independent contractors, if they went to their home country or if they are sick.
Sure. So look, I hear you. And I
So
don't
we
wanna
call
cut
them
you off.
authorized.
They're authorized, but do we have any analysis to show, to my question, at any given time, how many taxi cabs are available? I know we're authorized. Do we know how many are available? Have we had instances where people have called and there has not been any availability at all? I would
Yes.
like to know that. There has been?
In the STAR
That's
program, I'm
problematic.
sure.
Yes.
Correct.
That was in the audit report. So I guess, Brian, you're gonna send an email, but I think there's more to this question that, so we can all be clear and concise on, you know, what we have available, but what's realistically available at any given time. So because there should not be any barrier to anyone picking up the phone and being able to access a taxi, especially with 29 authorized. I will find it very problematic if that's not the case now, given what we knew in the audit report. That's all.
Yeah, and
No,
yeah,
I
that's
hear, I
what,
hear you.
yeah, and then JD, sorry, board member Spain.
I mean, JD, we go way back, Brian. It's okay. I mean, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that, trust me.
Alright, but as JD was saying, yeah, I think from my understanding, last time we were checking, there was like, I'm gonna quote a number, don't anyone hold me to it, but I think there was like, Red Top had 20 ADA like taxi cabs that they actually had in their inventory, but those 20 serviced, you know, all the Northern Virginia locality.
Yeah,
That's where I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so Angie,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Justin has a statement.
It has been a nightmare to get wheelchair accessible vehicle in the past few years. It's easier to use Metro. I've ran into a lot of issues with Red Top getting wheelchair accessible cabs in the past few years.
Sorry for that, but the past 2 years alone, it's literally been running on Metro instead of running on Red Top.
Yep.
But
wow,
one of the reasons why I'm getting a wheelchair accessible vehicle. Literally everything
Yeah.
has been in Arlington County, which.
all right. Well, Angie, obviously, this was a really lively discussion. Thank you very much for coming. We'll coordinate as a commission. I've got some items to bring to you. JD's raised issues, Brian also. So we'll communicate between Courtney and everybody else. So thank you very much. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the evening, or you can continue your evening. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Angie.
Yeah,
Thank you. I
and-
appreciate the discussion.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
And JD, in the interest of time, I know you have to leave at some point, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah.
We do want to show you one quick
Sure, I
video
love videos.
related to the interior door accessibility item. I think Courtney was going to get it queued up because I saw you flipping through the presentation. Do you want to see it now or do you want to go first?
I can see it now.
Okay.
Sure. That.
No, it's
Not the
number
balcony. It should
It's
be.
the 23, I think it's number
I'm sorry, I
23.
told her 24. That was my mistake. Yes.
It's, yeah,
There you go.
that's one of them.
There
That
you
one,
go.
yeah, that's it, 2023.
Should be able to just, there you go.
Ready?
Yep.
When it's online like this, it's a little jerky. Can you turn up volume?
I see it.
Yeah, she's struggling with the key fob because she's got limited, you
Mhm.
know, and it times out. It's a building where Maryland lives.
Yeah.
You're paying for all these nice amenities.
here.
This door's not as heavy. The other door was 5 pounds, and I couldn't even hold it like this. But
She could not get into any of the amenities
Yeah.
in that building.
It's, at first look, you would say that it's placement of the device by which, you put your fob up to, and then also the lack of automation on that door.
Correct.
So that is key to this issue in itself. Yeah, and that should be fixed.
And JD, if you have a second, I know that you're really busy. You've got a big agenda tonight. The entire presentation, which is 37 pages, is a standalone presentation that shows elderly, people with invisible disabilities, people that have strollers, people that can't get in and use the garage. So this is not just for persons with disabilities, it's for everyone. And this has been successfully paid for after the fact. The whole point of this is to get the code changed in Virginia to be extended for the construction code so that all new buildings, apartments and condominiums would be able to have internal accessibility for all amenities, including garages that are not covered by ADA. So if you get a chance, we would like to encourage you to look at the entire briefing that I think should go forward to Richmond. I think it's that important. And it's not going to be quick for them to change the code, but we would like for that. We call it urgent because people are paying for these amenities that cannot use them.
Have we had a chance to speak with any of the folks in our delegation at all?
Not in the delegation, but just on your board, Mr. Mary.
Yep.
But I really do. I thought about even our senator or local congressman, delegates. We would love to share this. It's easy to share. It's a large document with a lot of videos in it. So it's usually one at a time that can use it, but it is a standalone presentation that makes the point, and it has a solution. So that's what we like about it. It has a solution, and we don't believe that the cost is prohibitive at the beginning for developers. Developers, we believe, are the ones that are taking this out. And since it's not an ADA requirement, we want to make it a code.
I will, we still have some time. I know Delegate Adele McClure is very active, and she actually sits on a couple of the commissions. She sits on the commission and an agent as well, which I think there's some overlap. And thank you, Madam Chair, and the entire commission for what your work you're doing in a very collaborative way with them. They spoke highly of the Disability Commission this morning.
Oh, we met.
I know, I know. So, but thanks for lifting this up and consider me having this for action and seeing what more we can do as far as state code and speaking with not only our delegation, but before the session begins, seeing what has been done, what more we can do. There is more we can do, of course, and bring it by a few legislators, bring it to their attention and see what we can get done. Now, I think, quite honestly, now is the time to really seize the moment, given what's going on as far as the makeup of the General Assembly. So I would assume there are a number of folks who may be open to not only having a conversation, but looking at ways to improve, access and changing to our code. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
JD, Laura is at ECNV. I think you shared that the advocacy day is January 25th. I don't have the exact date. So, those of us who are able to will go to Richmond for that day of advocacy.
Yeah. And I'm sure that'll be a great move. I'm gonna try to make it down there 1 or 2 days to advocate on some issues that are perhaps not only in our legislative package, but also to a couple other critical areas that I think are very important. So keep in mind, being mindful. Are you turning it over to me?
It's your time.
It's my time.
You can take what you want.
Well, I look, as I said earlier, to you, Madam Chair, and to everyone here, thank you. And to Courtney as our staff liaison for honestly just being here in this moment. You could be anywhere else, but you made a conscious effort and you are here. And to our newest commissioners, I really appreciate you being here in person. And I think we have some vacancies, and I'm going to continue to push to recruit and bring folks in. But you've already done amazing work. You've already shown your commitment just by being here. You're asking questions. You're working collaboratively. And I'm trying to do my part, right? As a person on the board, and I know y'all have seen a lot of board members serve as liaison time and time again. We come and go, right? We usually stay in our positions about 24 months, and then we'll rotate out to another commission because there's about 50 odd commissions or regional boards that we are liaison to. You brought up Metropolitan Washington Council of Government. I was asked last week if I would be, because I'm a member of the Human Services Policy Committee at the COG. And now they've asked me, would I serve as chair in 2026, which is pretty big, in my opinion, significant, being I'm really the junior person. I asked, what is everybody else doing? But look, I don't mind because Arlington sets a high standard and we're going to do good work. There's a lot of overlap when it comes to aging, disability, housing, and that subcommittee of MCOG. And you talked about grants and ways that as a region we could do more in each of these jurisdictions. I look forward to that, and I will invite you to come and attend one or two of those meetings next year because there's a lot of ways to get involved. And like I told them, outside of people coming up and giving briefs, the question I have is what are we doing to really make significant progress? So I did come to give some perspective and some thoughts. Again, this is month 11 for me. And again, we have a few more folks on the board and a few updates that I have in consultation with not only some of my colleagues, but some of the staff here in Arlington. And please excuse me if I'm reading off paper because I don't want to miss anything. I went over this a good bit. But the first thing I want to talk about was your charter. I know there's been conversation about updating the charter, and I look forward to that happening. I think it's fruitful, it's beneficial to update charters from time to time because things change. But continue to collaborate with not only myself but also staff liaison with this. And what'll happen is once your draft is put together, you'll give that to me. I will make sure that goes back to the board and we will look over it. Then I will give it back to the chair of this committee for you to take a vote on it. And once you take a vote on it, you send it back again to us, and we at the county board at a recess meeting would approve it. All right. So I know there's some work being done on that, and you're looking closely at the charter, and I applaud you in your efforts. But keep in mind, it is a very collaborative process. And it's a step-by-step process, which is focused, of course, on transparency. But we want you to own this process and also know that it needs formal board approval. The budget year recommendations and the timeline. We're in November. I'm not sure how many of you watched our last recess meeting. Tomorrow night we will have talk about our closeout from fiscal year 2025. But I will say this: some of the instructions and the timelines when it comes to our budget will be provided by our clerk, Mason. Many of you know him. But for this upcoming budget, you can expect in January, right now, to be receiving some additional information and guidance on how you can be involved. And those timelines will be clarified in January, okay? But I hope, because we've talked, Karen, before about possible, ADA liaison. Oh, trust me, I've done my homework and other things. Even though we may be up against a very tight budget year, there's some areas that I feel that we should not waver. And so when we're thinking about people and programs, together, we already know that in our community, and I say our community, in the disabilities community, because I'm a disabled veteran, we know there's shortfalls, and we need people on the front lines. We need folks in critical areas to make sure to keep us honest, right? As an inclusive, vibrant community of Arlington. So we'll look closely at that position and see what we can do. Non-participation of commissioners. Again, we have a really good, robust group of folks here tonight, but I am not one whereby if a person does not show up, I'm gonna say, hey, look, you're no longer on the commission. That's not how it works. especially with our disability commission and our commission on aging. I think, there's a number of factors that may come up from time to time that way make it difficult or challenging for a person to show up. And sometimes a person may just not feel like showing up, and that's okay too. But we do have rules and we do have guidelines that we have to follow. And the first thing we will do, I know the chair will, and Courtney, we will reach out and make sure that you're okay and things are all right, and try to accommodate to the best of our ability. But if there are some challenges that make it difficult for you to attend, then just let us know, right? And we will do what we have to do to work alongside you. If you ultimately have to have some voluntary resignation, we will look at that. I'm not about going before a recess meeting and removing somebody from the rolls, because then it becomes a public record in so many ways. You never know what's going on in a person's life. So if you have an issue, all I would ask is that you work with the chair, work with Courtney as the liaison, work with me, right? Call me up if you have to. I'm a social butterfly. People know that. And we got to figure out ways to work together in unity. The legislative priorities and construction codes you mentioned a little bit earlier. Those poorly designed doors and these accessibility challenges. These are things that I believe that I can take up and run with and share with the members of the board, and also work with the delegation. I will see what I can do to have a representative from the delegation. Perhaps we don't meet anymore this year, do we?
Yes, we do.
We meet in December?
Yep.
All right, I got to see if these schedules open. I think it'd be great, primed right before the General Assembly session, to have someone come in from the Arlington delegation, perhaps, and meet with you and talk about some of the issues, Marilyn, that you brought up and kind of emphasize to see what we can do. It's one thing just to talk about stuff. It's another thing to say, okay, what is it that we can do or willing to do in partnership? So trust that, when it comes to your legislative priorities and things that you've laid out, we've taken a close eye at that. I know you've worked with Brian Esty a little bit, our legislative liaison. You've spoken to him, and we saw what your legislative priorities were, and we kind of modified our legislative package slightly, which was adopted this past Saturday. Position G2 was meant to encompass your recommendations of 1 and 3. And position H3 was an overarching position, we would say, in supporting persons with disabilities. So trust me that you were heard, your work was not in vain, and that we are laser focused on the issues that matter, not only with the Disabilities Commission, but all of our commissions. You got to put yourself sometimes in our place. We're getting all these legislative priorities coming in. We're kind of like trying to say, okay, it's not that one is more important than the other. It's like, okay, what can we kind of put in a broad stroke and what can we realistically achieve, but also put a signal out there about this is where Arlington stands. So I also want to talk about your engagement, Madam Chair. Look, I don't know about the other commissions, but I will say this. Karen, you have been very focused and deliberate in your engagement with me. And Carol, my aide, and I'm very appreciative of that. Your chair commissioners has been very involved. And I think for a second or two, we should just pause and give her a round of applause or the next.
Amen. She's been great. She's great.
I remember when I came here at the beginning of the year, and I think we sat over across the hall, and I said, where are we going? How you're the person, you can make this happen. And look, I think it's incumbent upon all of us when we're out here in our community. Brian, thank you for all your work over the years. Look, encourage folks to join this commission. We have a lot of openings. I think it's 4 or 5 positions. And I run across people all the time who are like, oh, I didn't know there was commissions. Well, I say, apply. And they're like, okay, I'll apply. And sometimes they never apply. But a lot of this is done by word of mouth. I do my best to kind of elevate it in my social media spaces or sometime on email, try to get the county to weigh in. But the possibilities and potentials are endless when it comes to this commission. Why? Because some of the issues that we just brought up when you talk about projects that come to Arlington County, think about, right, if we had the right size commission here and we had the bandwidth to be able to have you in some of these SPRCs and LRPCs, not the same person all the time, but to really to something you've already put forward. It was actually your matrix and scoring rubric and all of this, we need to have you in the room, right? As some of these decisions are being made, so we can point out that, hey, look, this is just not right, right? This is not a fully accessible building in Arlington. I will tell you, in the past couple of years, we've had several buildings long before I showed up that have come online, and they were not completely ADA accessible. These were, one of them was a school.
Yep.
Okay, I know all about that. And then we spent all this money later on, and I'm like, so where were our, so I get it. It's just that we need your eyes and ears out there, and trust that if you see something, say something, and keep me honest to the extent you can. I know Karen Will is following up on that. Okay. Look, I talked about a budget. I talked about the charter. I talked about the commissioners. I also saw your work plan, which I think, the work plan for July 1st, 2025 through June 26th. Very, again, realistic, something that's achievable. I thank you for your work as looking at the STAR report. I know you were in the weeds on that.
Oh, they were here.
Yeah, I know you were. And I also mentioned that you should, feel free to reach out to our auditor and to have him come in if you would like to do Wayne is amazing. He looked forward to doing more community type engagement instead of being in that office back there. So he's very receptive to doing that, to coming out and meeting with you as well. He was the auditor, he and Shirley, to kind of get into the nitty gritty and the nuances of what they saw. That said, the backside of it is, okay, once we find out where our issues were and are, we didn't make sure there's follow up and that we go back, whether that's in 12 months, 24 months, and this is what our auditor is doing, to make a note of, is that we making sure we don't make the same mistake twice, right? And so I like your draft plan. I'm fully supportive of it. I would just say with engagement, when it comes cross collaboration with commissions, i.e. agent or any other commission, please continue to do that. If you're going to work extensively or want to do some work outside of the scope, I would say, of this commission with other entities, i.e. legislative partners, make sure you address that with me first. That way I can run it through the chair and through our team. What we don't want to have happen or be perceived is that we have a commission out here in La La Land doing their own thing, right? But I also want to empower you to be able to work within your charter and really push us to the art of the possible, right? Whereby, we should be setting a very high standard for others to emulate. I've used that earlier today, but there is a lot of work for us to do here in Arlington. And I trust and I tell you that the chair cannot do all the work by herself. We have some good people here. So with that being said, whether we're going to do some work, I look forward to the work you're going to do on pedestrian safety and accessibility in the multi-dwelling units and everything alike in your work plan. I'm fully supportive of it. The chair, Takis Karantonis, was over in the office really before I came over here. He's like, "Where are you going?" I'm going to another commission meeting. Look, you have folks whose eyes and ears are on what we're doing here, and that you're not working in a vacuum. Okay. And so I may not be able to accomplish everything, but I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna do my best to support you. And with that being said, I thank you for these very good reports and your matrix for grant applications and rating forms. I'm not sure if we ran this through staff yet.
That actually, yes,
We did?
yeah, that actually was put in the packet for the
Yes.
grantees.
For the grantees, this was put in the packet,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah,
original, okay.
yeah. And this is just, the matrix just takes
Mhm.
that and just has some markers.
Mhm.
But no, we're using the rating form that was put in the packet that was
Okay.
put out to grantees. Yeah,
So what would you think out of your work plan? And I guess this is my question as I close to you. I would love to hear, what do you think is the top two challenges in the work plan through June 26th, and how can I help?
we need the ADA staff liaison position is critical. Courtney, First, I want to acknowledge Courtney. Courtney is the ADA coordinator for the county. It is a legally required position. It is a huge position. There's a lot of responsibilities. I did a certification
Mhm.
program and I took 2 courses on being an ADA coordinator. And I went back and looked at the slides that said what were the responsibilities of the ADA coordinator. It's a lot. What we are talking about is a liaison, somebody more senior who's conversant in construction code, who is conversant in the transportation challenges that can liaise with all of these different parts, right? With the other commissions, with the staff, with the board, with the nonprofits and other organizations like ECNV, with WMATA, with
Yeah,
all of the above.
it's a lot.
And it is really, really critical. So that's what
Courtney,
I.
have we had an ADA liaison in the past or anything in county government? I'm not- Who is that?
That's Elizabeth. Elizabeth knows.
Liz knows.
She
It's
knows.
Elizabeth Go again. I've been on this committee for probably, I don't know, 9 or 8 or 7 years. And every year we have asked for an ADA housing coordinator. And one of our reasons for adding housing was we used to have a commission member. She's on leave right now for health reasons, but her name was Doris, and she was very attuned to the types of work that's supposed to be done under the Fair Housing Act.
Yeah.
And so we have had meetings with the fellow who does the Arlington specific code and Virginia specific code work, but Doris had seen many times where things weren't reviewed prior by the builders or by the county, and there's some requirements under the Housing Act that things get reviewed at a certain time, and then like Karen said, things that had to be retrofitted because they weren't done originally. And so this has been something that I brought up when Matt was our liaison, and before that people have brought up. So it's not new, but we really would love someone to push it. And when you gave your presentation, I wanted to ask a question, but I didn't want to interrupt you. One of the things that Karen and I have been talking about is that we've gone to SPRC meetings out of our ears, and Karen has pushed this more than I even thought to do. So thank you so much, Karen. Is that they always, when we talk to them, we try to mention something about anything interior, about what will be complied with, even just ADA stuff specifically. They, without fail, I have heard them say, well, we'll comply with ADA. We'll comply with the ADA, which is basically like saying we're not in charge.
Gotcha.
So it's hard for us to go to SPCA meetings and have any input if that's going to be the response. So
What I would, yes, I thank you, Elizabeth, for all of your years of service to our county, and more especially to this commission. Again, I'm not sure what's been going on the past 8 years, but Brian probably can attest to this. And I learned this, and I've shared, I think, this with Karen before. If you walk into my office, I have something written on the whiteboard in my office. It's like, it says, tell me how to get to yes. And no is not an option. Now, that could happen in some ways, but I think at this moment, at this time, especially as we grow our population, it's almost unthinkable in a sense, given, and Courtney, I think you do this as the coordinator aspect is not your full time, right?
So yes, I handle Title I, which is employment, and then Title II, which is our programs and services, making sure that they're accessible. That's in the consulting
That's exactly.
role with the department.
Gotcha. So I strongly believe, and I would hope that this commission could, Karen and team, wrap up a package to, when we talk about the ADA liaison, write something up and scope it, and provide it to me, by January or something before we get into our budget season, because I want it to be kind of priced out and included in our conversations, and see what more we can do. Not just a conversation, but figure out, quite honestly, in a very tight budget year, I want to set some realistic expectations. It's not like we may have to move a few things around, but I also want to make sure that, when we talk about planning commission and SBRC, that it's more to the conversation than just saying, well, we're doing everything that's ADA compliant, right? It's like getting into the weeds, and we need the subject matter experts and the people there to keep people honest, because what'll happen, I don't want projects coming before the board to be approved, because then I'll start asking questions, okay? And I should be asking those questions on behalf of you. Is X, Y, and Z ADA interior, ADA accessible? And they're gonna have to answer the mail on that, right? And it's incumbent upon me to do that. That's being your voice. That's being a liaison. So let's try to get in front of that and see what more we can do. Have you spoke with the chair of the planning commission?
I was at the Long Range Planning Commission meeting and we chatted last week.
Mhm.
Elizabeth and Marilyn were also there, but I also wanted to bring to your attention, Elizabeth and I have been, and Marilyn have been going back and forth about this idea that we need a standard brief. Anybody who goes to SBRC, the way we introduce ourselves and we say, this is the mission of DAC, and we have 5 questions for you, right? And I have a draft that I've only shared with one commissioner because I didn't want to violate the meeting rules. But I am ready after this meeting to share it with everybody. So I used a draft of it when I introduced myself at Long Range Planning last week. But it's also questions, and I have a secret weapon. My spouse is a registered architect and he's worked with the ADA in construction since 1992. So he assisted me in putting together the questions.
Thank you for your transparency.
So assisted me with the questions that developers should always be asked in county staff. And some of them are time bound. Like, we need to see this, and we need to see this metrics. And his point was also, okay, you're going to build the building. You're going to make sure it's accessible, but what is your long time maintenance and sustainability plan for accessibility features?
Good.
So I'm happy to share
So
drafts because I want everybody to see it.
share with,
You can see the drafts,
yeah, but I have to run to another,
not tonight.
not tonight. So this is what I would recommend. So share it among the commission, right? And then once the commission kind of looks it over and send it to me, right? What I will do is make sure I'll send it to our clerk and also our attorney. Also would have to look at it, okay? Just to keep things honest here. I'll make sure we're still standing within our scope and we're not crossing any weird lines. I don't think we are, but do that. And then you should know by the next meeting about where we are with that. That sounds like a really good plan, but I want to wait and see, after y'all deliberate and talk about it and get that to me.
Yep.
But also, this should not be a list that we're asking questions when we're at the SPRC or LRPC meetings. That's the stuff that planning staff should be going for in that first review.
Gotcha.
Because by the time it gets to us, it's almost, yeah.
So
It's too late.
this is more for CPHD at the planning staff level for them to incorporate into the early stages of developers coming in and say, hey, we want to build X here, and then ask those questions.
Yep.
But we have to be able to follow that process all the way through LRPC or SBRC and then ultimately to the board, so we can make sure all of that is accounted for. And it'll go into the analysis and matrix that you have.
Yeah,
Well, look, I have to go to 8 o'clock.
Thank you so much.
I do have time for one more question if there's one. Because my meeting is right down in my office, is a virtual, so. Any additional questions for me?
Code.
Code enforcement?
Yep.
What's your question about code enforcement?
And
It's okay.
but it has been not keeping up to code on buildings and accessibility. For the past few years, several major examples, the new Harris Teeter over in Boston Quarters does not have wheelchair accessible. Cashiers, in our neighborhood, JD, Giant has been utilizing block devices to keep their carts in sight, but they keep on blocking the wheelchair accessible ramps.
Really? Okay.
And obviously it has been a nightmare. Alex and I have been trying to figure that out for the past few years.
Alex is the president of the Penrose Neighborhood Association, very involved leader who has taken on a number of issues that have been brought. Thanks for raising that. And pretty much in generality about code enforcement, you know, not just with ensuring that some of these locations are not in violation. We have some challenges with code enforcement because of I'll just tell you, it's staffing, right? We don't have enough people per se to go about, right? Arlington, whether that's code enforcement with parking, it's code enforcement with people who are blocking bicycle lanes, you name it, people. I mean, so there's a lot of work to be done, but we do have a platform online that if you see something and you can issue, put in a complaint and talk about the location where it's happening, we will follow up with that.
We've reached out to code times.
And have they never replied?
They would reply to the issues.
Poorly replied to the issues. Yes. So the answer from Justin was that they have reached out to code enforcement several times, but the reply was poorer and they have not really done enough follow through or follow up. I guess my question would be at the end of the day, I know the folks at code enforcement, so we'll have to engage with them a little bit more.
Do you think we can set up a meeting between one of us or between the two of us on behalf of the commission and go over what's been going on?
If you have something written up about violations, what I think, we can make this into a public space. We can request that someone from code enforcement come to the Disabilities Commission meeting and we bring up those concerns that you just addressed. And that way it's right here in public. It's in front, it's with everybody, and you can talk to the issues or write up the issues that you have, and we will have to address that. Sounds like you've tried that, but nothing hasn't moved the needle much. So let's invite them to the commission, and that's what this commission is all about. All right. I really got to jump. I'm already a minute over. Thank you all. For those that are celebrating Thanksgiving, enjoy. I plan to fry a turkey safely. And one more time, I'm so proud of the chair.
We are too.
Call me if you need me. You know how to reach.
No, I need him because I'm not so good with parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rules of Order. So
Brian's held, Loretta Brian is well versed.
yes, thank you so much. So obviously we have a really packed agenda. We're going to do what we can tonight, but it was great. It was super having him. Our next order of business, if we can address the meetings, meeting minutes. So the meeting minutes from October. Are there any corrections? Any comments on those meeting minutes? Okay, do we have a motion?
Hearing none, I motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
Excellent. So good. Our meeting minutes are approved. Courtney, over to you. You have your liaison report.
I don't have the liaison report for this meeting.
Okay, excellent. We get back a little bit of time. I have a long list. I'm going to try to be really, really fast. Actually made notes because excellent. I wanted to thank Laura. She and I attended the board meeting in October, and JD presented us the National Disabilities Employment Awareness Month proclamation. So that was kind of cool. I did meet with the Commission on Aging. I met with their vice chairs last week, and we just had a great conversation. I did share our legislative priorities, and when they got back, they just kind of said yes to everything. So I think there's going to be some really good opportunities for deliberation. Elizabeth and I have been representing DAC on the Transportation Committee, which is under Commission on Aging, for the March 16th Community Engagement Act that will focus on pedestrian safety and accessibility. So we're going to need, probably some support from this commission. It's going to be a really, really fantastic opportunity for outreach and community just recruitment of new members. And all of you had shared your input on ideas just to get out into the community, to be more focused about bringing folks in for public comment and just publicizing what we're doing. And I am delighted to announce that Andrew has agreed to head up our working group for community outreach. I don't really know what we're calling it yet. So he said yes. So you're going to
Yay.
I know you're going to be hearing more about that.
Yay, yay.
I just want to say one thing about Andrew that captures his enthusiasm. I talked about taking a look at other commissions and benchmarking other organizations to see what we were doing. And Andrew said something along the lines of, I am sure we can exceed what they're doing. So I just thought that was great. As I said, Elizabeth and Marilyn and I attended the Long Range Planning Commission update group, and I sort of test ran some of the standard language to say, you know, who I am representing DAC in our mission. Keep you posted about that. And we do have an opportunity. I'm looking for a representative that would be willing to be our representative they're the same day. They're December 2nd. 2 site planning review commission sessions for 2 projects. One is Waverly Ridge on North Taylor Street. The other is Alexan Courthouse on North 15th Street. And I have to provide the name to our lead by November 28th. So I'll follow up in an email on that also, like after this meeting. And that'll be a great opportunity to kind of kick the tires on this little pilot of trying to make sure we get our questions in and our briefing points in.
Hey, Karen, can
Go
I
ahead.
add a little?
Yeah, because you've got one too.
I really respect that you put this together. And when you look at it, you will see that it's long, and you might think, oh, I don't have the guts to take up that, but oh, no, I mean, you guys are all have guts. So, but you know, you might think, well, it's long and nobody else did more than just say their name in the committee. Well, one of the reasons that we're doing this is because we've been to, for example, pedestrian committee meetings and bicycle committee meetings and environmental committee meetings, and they are so organized, and they come in and they just you know just have all these points to make that they make at every meeting. And so Karen and I noticed that we were being drowned out. And the only reason I say that is if you get this and you think, no way in the heck am I gonna stick my neck out like that, just realize that it's because other committees are doing it, and we've got to catch up with the times.
Thank you. There is an additional transportation future event. If you have not had the opportunity, I know some of us have been able to provide feedback. It is Saturday, the 22nd, 1:30 to 4:30 at Arlington Mill. And it's just a listening session in the community. So if anybody wants to go, I would encourage you to do that. And that is all that I have for my chair's report. And then our next item of business is our draft work plan. So let me see if I can recap. A few months ago, I had the opportunity to speak to everybody one-to-one about your priorities, your good ideas. And then Elizabeth facilitated our meeting in September, and there was a robust conversation. And then we talked about it at the October meeting. So what was shared for this meeting was my attempt to pull out 5 goals and then underpinning objectives for fiscal year 26. So that ends June 30th. And then I broke it out and further broke it down under the objectives with actions and outcomes. So we've got the opportunity to talk about it. Courtney, are you able to pull that document up? It's the longer spreadsheet. And my goal is to have some discussion about it tonight, gather feedback, and then for us, if there's feedback, if there's suggested revisions to it, to come back in December and vote on it as a work plan. So JD actually didn't see all of the down and dirty Excel spreadsheet because I didn't want him to see that part till you all had seen it. Yeah, so, Courtney, you can keep going. That's just the top sheet. So it's a lot. And so it is the five goals. So obviously the first one is to expand community engagement and outreach. And I have to confess that the structure came 100% from the Commission on Aging for their 5-year aging plan that they in turn used a template from the AARP. So that's where the action task partners, expected results, and outcome piece came from. Courtney, can you go to goal 1? Just go up one. You got, yeah, one more. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. So obviously under goal 1, there were 3 objectives. Increase public comment, community participation. A lot of this came from a pretty lengthy conversation I had with Justin. And Justin had some really good ideas around letting people know that we're here, that they have opportunities for public comment, and even putting out suggested topics, like they can come and talk about whatever they want, but we could decide that we were going to put it out and ask people about code enforcement, their experience with code enforcement in the community, and that could be like floodgates, right? And then the other was the engagement with the other commissions. I've made it my business to meet some of the other chairs, and I'm going to start attending other meetings. And so Courtney, my question is, if like we want to attend other commission meetings, but more than 2 of us attend, does that constitute a meeting?
I don't think.
Would be attending as a commission or just publicly you can do it?
Just attending as a commissioner, just to see what they're doing.
So
Is the business won't be, do you plan on discussing any business related to DAC business or issues there at the meeting? If so, then yeah, that would constitute as a.
But if we had 2 of them, it'd be okay. If it was just 2 commissioners going, right?
2 commissioners attending another commission is fine as long as you're not discussing DAC business.
Okay.
So I've been told it's
hard.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, it's like, isn't it? I know on another commission I had, the staff member told us like if it's 3 or more.
Public meeting is 2.
Ah, okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, if you and I went to a meeting and you just spoke and I was sitting in the corner
Okay.
listening,
That'd be
and
okay.
don't interact.
Okay.
As long as we don't interact.
Now,
Yeah.
if you, and I think what we can do is let the staff liaison know ahead of time that you'll be coming just to kind of see. I think
Okay.
that would be- Whatever you guys feel.
Okay. So the Commission on Aging meeting is the same day as our next meeting. They had a meeting today, but I will be attending their next meeting. If anybody would like to attend, you know, I'll put it out in an email. Justin, okay, so, and I think it is virtual. I think they go back and forth. And I also have a meeting scheduled with JD on January 7th. So if somebody wants to attend that meeting with me, I'd be happy to have whoever wants to be in that meeting. So I'll put that out. And then the other part of community engagement and outreach is we're going to have to pretty swiftly turn around and start planning, do some strategic planning. So the thought is around March, we would have probably in lieu of the March meeting, a 4 or 5 hour working session. So I hope that in December, we can start thinking about the whens and the wheres. I've talked to Courtney a little bit about the logistics, and JD would try to attend some of it. So he would be interested. Yeah. So are there any comments on that first goal, the community engagement, the outreach?
And that's only informal, basically. Because we ran into a little bit of an issue last week at the long range planning, which is more formal, obviously. That they didn't like us having 3 DAC people there. to
Didn't
speak.
like us. No, because 2 spoke, only 1 is supposed to speak.
Exactly. And so that, but just FYI, I don't think we'll do that again. But again, I was hoping that you could speak when we get to that point about the ground rules or the opening remarks that we can make at future meetings.
Yeah.
I really, really wanted that to happen. And I think I'm going to go back up. Keep going. I'll come back to that later when we get to that document.
Okay, Courtney, I'm gonna go. There's one more, and obviously go up one screen, please. Yeah, this one is what we talked about with JD. So what I'm thinking is to invite, he had said Adele McClure, or invite somebody from our Arlington delegation to come to our December meeting. Go ahead.
So I recommend Patrick Hope.
Patrick Hope, okay.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yep. That's another one. Yep.
He's a huge disability.
Yeah.
All right, Courtney, if you can go to 2. I'm not gonna read everything because I really just want everybody's feedback, and I know that it was circulated ahead of time, but y'all probably want time to take a look at it. And then this is around accessible and universal design, multi-dwelling housing units. And 2.1, we've talked about a lot, and we do have JD's support to advocate for state construction code updates. And I'm not going to say anything about it. 2.2 is promote affordable and accessible housing aligned with accessible transportation options. And that is the legislation that's in our legislative agenda. And I think that's what JD was referring to the G3 or H3.
Yeah.
Okay.
What they did this year different from last year, because I watched the workshop session. So last year they did like prescriptive, this is exactly what we want you to pass. This year they did a descriptive agenda to give more flexibility to our staff members. So we have a staff member who is essentially full-time enrichment.
I've spoken to him.
Yeah.
He's very
Yeah.
helpful and very knowledgeable.
Yes, and I know him as well, actually. We came up in some organizations together. So that's just, it's what he's allowed to do for us during the General Assembly session, which is a 60-day session this year.
Yeah, it's a longer session.
Yes.
And then the third under the housing units is, again, what we've talked about, expanding our representation in the site plan review commission process. So that's having the standardized briefing, the checklist and the questions. And they'll get real sick of us, but they'll know that whoever comes from the Disability Advisory Commission, we'll introduce ourselves, we'll talk about our mission and purpose, and we will put out what our expectations are.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Like, are we like kind of like meeting with them behind the scenes and be like, this is really just the reason we're heavily focusing on that this year is to allow us to become more educated, and like where we need, like, this is not going to be an annual thing. This is just us so we can assess where we are and where we need to go.
yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think so.
So it's like short time annoyance, but for a more sustainable relationship.
But I think, you know, Elizabeth had a point when I was on, the Barcroft working group, quite large, and there were many meetings. There were just either neighborhood groups, neighborhood associations, or it was the biking group, the cyclists.
Oh, yeah.
Every single meeting, whoever was there, you knew who they were, the mission and purpose of their group, and then what they were there for and the questions that they asked. Yeah. And then the third goal, it goes back to expand county government accessibility capacity and resources. That does definitely go back to making that justification for that liaison position. Yeah, I see some heads shaking. So, Laura, I haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that should be a priority, especially as JD said, you know, we're a growing population. Also means that we'll have more people with disabilities and, I don't know, like, I think we should strive to be the best.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know what resources actually there are in our our you know, other counties, but
Yeah,
if there is an ADA liaison, you know, Fairfax or.
and I don't know the answer to that. And I'd be looking for somebody who'd be willing to maybe take a look at that on that side. Yeah, because I think it's possible to benchmark other jurisdictions. And I think that is really, that's a good area to look, definitely.
And I know JD talked about, it's like, make sure you're getting like the pricing and stuff, which is like compensation is a very complex process. I'm just like,
I actually have experience doing that in federal space on fully loaded positions and everything that goes into it.
yeah.
Never thought I'd have to do it again.
Well, welcome to Arlington.
But Laura, going back to your, you know, what you just said, if you've got some thoughts on jurisdictions to benchmark, because that's where if the position or a comparable one exists, it's pretty easy. It's public information to look up salary. If you have salary, you can estimate the fully loaded cost.
I will do some research on that. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, the more the better. But I think that's what he wants. When I met with him, that was his top priority when he and I talked, because I circled, I have the sheet with my notes, and that was his top priority. And the second objective under expanding our capacity and resources is just public access to disability services information. And that's something that Andrew's going to lead us on, and we're going to have to figure out what is in the realm of the possible. So Courtney, thank you. Courtney gave, I think, me the contact in the county who's in charge of the YouTube channel. And I'm going to make sure, Andrew, that you and I talk to him, because I think we can put those videos up on the channel.
So he did let me know that there is an approval process before.
I'm sure.
Things uploaded.
Oh, I'm
on
sure.
the site, so that's why
Yeah.
he wanted to me just to see how he can help to work. with
Yeah,
it.
I'll reach back and try to find some time.
Hey, Karen,
Andrew, go ahead.
it's Elizabeth. Would this be the time to mention also your and my participation with the aging commission, Asian Commission fair that they have, which you mentioned earlier today? As part of that, they were very interested in also increasing, you know, access to resources and making it simple. And I believe that you had brought up the idea of, you know, how do we distribute information to people at events where it actually is valuable to them. So I was thinking of that under this priority as well, and only bothered to mention it because I think that we have somebody who's doing a lot of that research, Catalina. Of what's up.
Yes, yeah. It's basically that idea that this event, which is March 16th, which is a community engagement event that's usually put in by the Commission on Aging, and we can be part of it, to hand out some kind of card, have something electronic, but some kind of card that's a card about resources around safe and accessible transportation. Have it put out in a variety of formats. Yeah. And so in the interest of time, please stop me, because goal 4 is promote pedestrian safety and accessibility. So this is also what Elizabeth was talking about, that we'll have that event, but to keep the momentum going, because frankly, I'd like to see us have a table at the county fair. The Commission on Aging was there. The Office on Accessibility and Aging was there. And it's a perfect spot for us to be there. And I've already started to talk to Courtney about what the timing of that is. And I think if we participate in the March event, then we'll have a better sense of the questions that people ask and maybe how we can think about community awareness on a lot of these accessibility issues. And we'll get ready for that event, which is also in August. And then the other under pedestrian safety and accessibility was what JD talked about, and we're aware how to report a problem in the county. Most people in the county don't have any idea.
Yeah, and one thing to that, it's more of like an action item that I would request from the county. It's like the only way to request is on like their website,
I know.
which is even like for those who do not have accessibility needs, it's like difficult to like navigate that. So I would really like to like take the DC 311 system, which is like you can like tweet an issue and the system creates a ticket.
I love it.
You can text a number and the system creates a ticket. And then they also have an app that you can create a ticket, and like you can link your phone number to your account so you can like track those tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Somebody already has this?
yeah. So DC.
Oh, DC.
Yes, yeah.
If you would like to take a stab on
Mhm.
4.2
Yeah.
and even the task
Mhm.
to modify the language about it, kind of investigating what's possible and making recommendations.
Yeah.
That is what that is. Wow.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
mention something about that?
On 4.2, this is Marilyn. I'm not sure it's exactly the same thing, but I was able to get a problem report or a code once I did that one report through Melissa on the issue at the, for example, at the library with the parking issue. She sent that on and I was able to get a ticket with a number and a code that I could track online. So that already exists for not the, certainly the awareness is not probably there, but there is a way to report concerns that I could get, but I only found it out through Melissa. So it's 4.2 still has a lot of value in order to figure out how the public can know about it. I didn't know about it, but I was able to use it.
And I just
And
wanted
go ahead,
uh,
Elizabeth.
It's, I think it was Duncan had mentioned that he didn't have any success when he's gone through that portal. I wouldn't recommend this as something for everyone to do, but for us to do to get attention to this matter. Don't go through the code people who are so unresponsive. I've always sent my accessibility request directly to the county manager, and I get a response so fast you wouldn't believe. So I, for our purposes, don't use the online forum. Go to somebody who's going to pay attention, and then explain our problem to him. So, her, it's a him, but okay.
And I would say to Elizabeth's point, that's really a point we have to stress with code enforcement and that ADA coordinator, because I keep on forgetting his name, but the like Director of Code Enforcement.
Mr. Amiri?
Yeah, Mr. Miri, I know he mentioned that he is like 2 or 3 full-time equivalent short.
He is short.
So like the very fact that you have to report an issue to the county manager's office or the
That's a
ombudsman.
good justification,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, that is a very good justification.
yeah. And they track, like, they have an internal system that will track.
They have a ticket.
Yeah, they have a
ticket
ticketing
system.
system.
Yeah, and they don't go away. Like
Mhm.
they have to be closed out, like they have to report all those things
Yeah,
out. That's a
and they're
good thing.
foiled too.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, they are. All right, I'm gonna go to 5 in the interest of time, because I want to talk just a little bit about the grants review process. So 5 is also what we've talked about, advance accessible and reliable transportation. 5.1 is a little redundant because it actually is the legislation again, advocate to link transportation planning to accessible and affordable housing, both in legislation and county policy. And then we have STAR. So the idea of having the auditors come and talk to us perhaps in February or March, because they clearly should be able, you would expect, to report some progress. So that's what I have on the plan. So my request is that you take some time and you look at it. I probably will reach out and try 1-to-1 and do a call with everybody, because I think that would be a good way to get some feedback. So I'll ask you to share your feedback. And then I'll try to do a 1-to-1 with everybody so that we bring it back and hopefully we can vote on it in December. Any comments?
I don't think you want any more comments on that. Is that correct? I wanted to give one general one across the board. I think I sent it to you separately, Karen.
And I want to talk to you separately because Marilyn had a really good idea about user acceptance testing in some of the areas, which
Yeah.
if we're asking for implementation or moving forward, and I need to talk to you about that, because for me, some of that translated also into resident satisfaction survey.
Right.
Some of,
Right.
but I would like to talk to you 1-to-1 about that, because I tried to put it in there and it didn't. I have a lot of experience in that area also, but it
Me
didn't,
too. Yeah.
it just didn't go in easily there. So if you don't mind, if we
No,
can
that's
do a-
fine. We can talk about it because I think, well, it's a hard problem. User testing and user acceptance testing in this role is who does it? How do you recruit people to do it? Who does it?
Well, and we have limited resources. So it's the
Exactly.
idea of if we're going to do user acceptance testing, like that's why I asked about iCabby tonight.
Okay, that's fine.
Because it sounds like, no, they really haven't done any user acceptance testing. Okay. Thank you for your patience. If it's 8:32, if we can go through the liaison reports, and then I think I can go through the grants process pretty swiftly. So Brian, in terms of our charter, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, my busy season is over, with the elections closing out, so yay me. So what I am doing now is I'm going to the other commissions' websites and pulling their charters and seeing what they do, because I know a couple of them, particularly the Human Rights Commission, just went through a complete rewrite. And yes, any changes that we adopt as more of a recommendation for the county board to consider in an adoption. And I know one pain point we have been discussing as a group is members who do not regularly attend, which creates difficulties for us when establishing a quorum. And I know JD, he was very hesitant of allowing us to remove members because it does become public record.
Yeah.
I get where he's going at, but I think as a commission, we also have to balance out the need to have a sustainable quorum so we can get work done. So far, we've been good for the end of the year. I think last year, and Courtney, you might have this in your record, but I think like half of our meetings one year, we couldn't meet because we didn't have a quorum.
Right.
So it's really, yes, people have lives. This is a volunteer job. I understand that. But in the same vein, we do have to make sure that this commission is serving the citizens of Arlington. And if we unfortunately have to remove someone because they cannot attend and they're not responsive to our request for them to step down, then sometimes, you know, we have to make this tough decision. So that's something I think we should consider as a group, especially as we're going through this year. And that's not to say if, you know, we remove someone and they want to come back, it's an automatic no.
Right.
That would be what would happen. Well, I don't want to prescribe to what our chair would do, but in the general scenario, if someone were to return that we've removed, which I expect to be a very rare occurrence, you know, they would have a conversation with Karen and Karen would be like, you know, we really need someone who's like dedicated to come to the meetings, like, you know, sort of having that expectation conversation. So when they return, we have a member who will be committed enough so we can get work done.
Thank you.
In the most diplomatic way I could put that.
And I think if you and I can remain in touch, and then, you know, if you have an update for us in December, but I think it's gonna take a little while. And that's okay. I think it's okay to get it right.
The power of Claude will read all of those charters for me.
Oh, well, how do you think I've done most of this? All right, and Elizabeth, do you have any updates on the Transportation Plan Advisory Committee?
Yes, they have, you know, I'll just repeat real quickly again what it is. It's called the Transportation Futures Commission or Committee. It's not a commission, it's a committee. And what they have been looking at is use of, for our purposes, sidewalks, curb lanes, as well as traffic calming. And they have over time, I've incorporated things that you guys have said over the years as concerns. You know, for example, scooters blocking the lanes. Doris talking about how the bike lanes, when you have to cross to get to the bus stop, it feels like you're risking your life, and things like that. And needing to be able to be picked up or dropped off by a taxi, and yet you have to go all the way to the end because of the bike lanes, some of those issues. Also, the fact that they use the term accessible, and they mean accessible throughout the county, not accessibility by disability. So those are pretty much the issues that I brought up. And they have put it into a draft model along with input from at least one person from every other committee. And they now have a time where it's up on their on the website. So what you would type in is Arlington's Transportation Future, and you could read this draft thing, and you could actually put down your comments on where the weaknesses are in transportation. For example, if you have a particular sidewalk without a curb cut, or if you just want to talk about how the sidewalks are crappy in a certain place, you know, you can be that specific or very broad. And so they're encouraging people to do that. So that is really, they want us to help get the word out to folks that have disabilities, because they have put in things. So for example, in this draft, they have multimodal, uh, multimodal, thing, um, well, anyway, multimodal something. And when they describe it, they mean scooters, like not mobility scooters, but scooters down the street at 9 miles an hour and scaring people. Um, and so, I had to say, no, please add the word wheelchairs. And they've been very accommodating by every of that, but they haven't really thought about it in advance. Um, I think again that's important, but really that they have to hear it from us to maybe remember to put it in. So anyway, that's my report.
Thank you. Maryland, is there anything quickly in addition to what we discussed for code enforcement?
No, other than I talked to a friend that asked what I was up to with the commission. And I told him briefly, and he says, you need to get a developer on board to become a hero.
That is it. That is true.
I thought that, okay, somebody give me a name of a developer that wants to be a hero to get this done.
That is really good.
So that's my only input.
Okay, we talked about site plan review committee meeting, and boy, that chair, she runs a tight ship. So, and if you're gonna do public comment, it's 90 seconds. You better practice because she'll cut you off at the knees. And I will send out an email about looking for somebody to step forward for those 2 site plan review committee items that is on the 2nd. I'll put that forward. Our Housing Commission and WMATA chairs are vacant. I am doing some recruitment. I have a potential candidate who has a lot of experience in this area. So I hope that will bear some fruit. In terms of recruitment, when I talk to JD, I'm going to be attending the Military Veterans Commission meeting, and I don't have the date. But once I have the date, I'll ask if one of you would also like to come and talk about what we do at the commission. But JD seemed to think that would be a good place to recruit a military veteran. So please, if you have good ideas of members. Okay, so in the time that we have left, I want to talk a little bit about the grants process. Courtney, are you able to put up that little draft timeline? First, I want to thank Bryant, who's been very, very helpful. Your work on the Community Development Commission and their 26-page guide to their grants review process has been extremely helpful. They also have 48 applications.
Yes.
And their process is a little bit different, but some of you have approached me and asked questions. So I'm going to try to put a little bit of rationality into the process. Courtney helped me out, and we have 2 commissioners who will need to recuse themselves from the review process because of their affiliation with at least one of the applications.
So they only have to recuse themselves from that one.
All of them.
Our policy states that?
Well, there isn't necessarily a written policy.
Okay, because the one that our committee has says you only have to recuse yourself from the ones that have that conflict.
And I think that's taken from our process, because that's what maybe.
I am, as the chair.
Okay.
But that's the
Sorry.
other, yeah.
Yeah.
As the chair, I
Yeah.
have a lot of federal contract review experience, and it's always about giving the impression of not being impartial. So there's always that very vague language. So for us to make sure that we are impartial, I've asked 2 of the commissioners to recuse themselves from the process. So there's 5 of us left. We have 9 applications. We have about $111,000. We usually, the amounts are about around $20,000. And so just on the merits of the proposal, some of the organizations, their scoring might make it difficult to be able to give them, the recommendation for a grant. But I did review the document that Bryant provided, and I did create the matrix that basically laid out what the score would be if the rating was excellent, if it was good or adequate, and if it was pretty poor or fair. And because the proposals went out and the rating sheet was actually included in the grant proposals, we should use those sheets. But I would ask that you use the matrix to guide you. And so I know it's a lot of applications to review, but my thought is, can you actually go back to the timeline? Thank you. So today we're talking just a little bit about the recusal and the review process. My thought is to go ahead between the 18th and about, the 14th of December to review and score those applications. And we will set aside probably most of our meeting in December to talk about your ratings. I'll probably facilitate it and just say, okay, let's talk about applicant number one. What did you see as strengths in the proposal? What did you see that was perhaps a challenge or a little bit weaker? And just general comments. And we'll talk about those proposals. And then following that discussion, I'll ask you to go back and score them. And then I think at that meeting, we'll be able to talk about potentially how many awardees we think we might have, because we might determine, boy, we've got some really stellar proposals, but we've got some applicants, it's their first time through, and the proposals probably need something else, the next cycle. So I think we'll be able to talk about that and say, gosh, at this point, it looks like we have 5 or 6 strong proposals. And then the idea would be for you to go back, look at your ratings, and then I'd ask you to submit them to Courtney and to me prior to our meeting on the 19th. And then that meeting on the 19th would be when we would work that out. And then if you can, and then Courtney would take those ratings and the rankings and what we propose, and then that would be brought forward. And then and if you scroll down, the actual awardees, they don't get notified for a bit. And then July 1st, they get their money. So Courtney, what's your take on that?
So July 1st would be when the FY27 year begins, and that's when the cycle, so their first awarding would not be until 3 months. It's every 3 months where they would submit an invoice, but yeah, they
get their first pass of money on July 1st, or
that's when our FY27 begins.
Yeah.
So they won't receive it, and the award letter that I provide to them will have out the list of payments. So it won't be till September. So it's
okay. So that's incorrect.
September. So
Okay.
September will be when the first quarter for FY27 will be paid.
Okay.
They submit a report and an invoice.
So that July 1st is incorrect. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can work with you just to update that.
It's correct, and since that is the 2027, that's when the FY27
Okay.
begins, fiscal year begins.
Okay. And then, Brian, how does this sync up with your experience?
I think that's currently the calendar we're going through. This is my first cycle with
Because
it.
I took it from
Yeah. So that's
yeah.
probably within the NOFA. I know December 3rd, we're having our ranking meeting. And then we have another meeting on the 7th that I won't be able to attend.
I will talk to you after the December 3rd meeting to
Yes.
see what I can learn about something that might help us.
I'll take copious notes.
Yeah. And Elizabeth, I know you've got a lot of experience doing this with grants. So do you have any thoughts about this process, that it'll be over a couple of months?
Yeah, I do. Would need Courtney to help me on this. I'm not sure I'm accurate or not, but I believe that in the past when we've done reviews that different grantees have asked for different amounts. Like some might ask for 10,000, some might ask for 20,000. And if I'm not mistaken, on very rare occasions, we might have said, okay, we're willing to fund this person, but for $5,000 less. So I don't know, Courtney, if that's the case, if the amounts they're requested are different, or if you're remember any kind of thing where we could decide, to fund one less in order to fund more somewhere else.
Right, you are correct on that. I know that Karen has created, I believe, a list of what the ask is and what the current amount is, so that
I need to share that. I forgot. I will
You are
do that.
correct.
Yeah, I will share that. I owe you all that. It's an action item for me.
Okay,
Because
thanks.
I asked Courtney and I should have attached it to the materials for this month and I did not.
I just
Okay.
really like that flexibility. It really, I thought, was great, because some people were offering to do so much with like $10,000, and other people were offering to do less for like 20,000. So I love that flexibility.
And then I did, based on what you shared, Brian, I did put a note in there about post-application debriefs. So Courtney, that's kind of putting us on the hook, right? That they're going to be invited to a decision debrief with county staff and the commission chair. That's sort of new, but we're gonna have some people who will be disappointed because we have 9 applicants and there's no way we're gonna fund them all. Yeah. So do you have any comments about that?
So is this gonna be, if they choose to, or?
Yeah, right, if they choose to. Yeah, and I would tweak that language a little bit. And I know, Brian, the commission that you're on does say final score sheets will be provided. Now, has DAC done that before? Okay, so that is something that we probably can discuss at our December meeting.
Yeah, and we can discuss as well.
Yeah, let's you and I discuss it just based on sort of precedent policy, because I did not share this with everybody yet because I didn't think all of it was correct in terms of some of the dates. Some of the dates are not correct. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So if you all would, between now and the next meeting, start that process, use the sheets that Courtney gave to all of us, but you do not need to submit anything. If you would, please come prepared at the next meeting just to talk about it and be able to talk about, and it is public record. So what we're going to be discussed is going to be part of the record. So it'll be really important that we talk about the strong points, questions that we might have, and some areas that we think maybe aren't so strong in those proposals, and that we're just kind of consistent as we discuss every proposal, that we give everybody fair treatment. Yeah. So. Any other questions about the grants process? Feels like a marathon meeting tonight. It does.
Got a lot done.
So I have a lot of action items. I just want to go back and read what is on the list. We did talk about going back to the office that gave us this presentation on the cab fares, and we actually had a number of asks. So Courtney, is it best to go through you?
Yes, please, or yes.
Okay, because I had, and please all correct me if I'm missing something. I had that there was a question about ICABE accessibility and user acceptance testing. I think, Brian, you wanted to know if they had any sort of analysis of the availability of the ADA cabs across time. Is there anything else?
That and is staff exploring, or would they be open to exploring any financing programs for the taxi cabs to procure new ADA vehicles? when they reach their end of life. Because I
For the
think,
contractors to obtain the vehicles.
yes, because I think within the regulation, there is, they can only operate the vehicles to a certain point, and then they're forced to depreciate them off of their.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that. Now, Justin, we talked about having a member from our delegation in December. Your suggestion is Patrick Hope?
Yep.
Okay,
He's extremely responsive to disability matters, a lot more than the other delegates. Highly recommend him, purely because he's attempted to he has passed a lot of bills that have benefited our community.
Would also recommend Senator Popola, so just to be on both sides of the house.
Oh, yeah.
So we can have multiple members of the delegate.
we can. Now, remember that this meeting in December, we got work on our
Mhm.
grant applications, but I also don't want to be rude.
Yeah, we also have the ability to call for a special work session if we want to. Yeah.
Probably not an
Yeah.
additional one, though.
Yeah.
Before the first of the year.
Mhm.
So, okay. So Senator Favela and Patrick Hope. There was also an action item to invite the auditors, but I think that would probably be February or April. We got a lot because we've got these grant applications. The other action item, I have a note about writing up violations and having a code enforcement representative at one of our meetings. Did somebody expand that? I don't think that's a good note.
So am I allowed to include what we do in the caucus?
If it's part of your work, you can include it.
Yeah. So I've received the reports of code enforcement. Can I use my AAC?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. If it takes a minute, that's okay. Justin, can I go over? Go ahead.
So I've received those reports of code enforcement not responding or poorly responding to critical matters. Including to local businesses, to public facilities not being accessible, including housing facilities. Sometimes they respond but don't enforce, and sometimes they fire back with, you have to take it up to the business, and the business tells the individual to to go to code enforcement. Honestly, we need to be looking into it a lot more.
Okay.
My question is, if we have code enforcement here, I think, beyond airing some of the issues, I think we need to perhaps present with a specific plan of action.
I think it's gonna require some more discussion to
Yeah.
get the most out of it, to be, yeah, exactly.
Let's start.
Yeah.
Let's start the conversation over email and get everything together.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Karen, I'll get you in touch with some people.
Okay.
And can we also ask at that email for positive feedback? Just so see if we can offer any, start out with the positive and then then say the negative.
Yes. All right, good. And I'm gonna reach out, set up one-to-ones with everybody to kind of ask for your feedback on the goals and the objectives and the work plan. Andrea, you said you'd look at other jurisdictions who might have an ADA advisor. I think Laura, you were going to see if you had suggestions of other jurisdictions to look at.
Yeah.
Okay. And I owe everybody the additional grants info that says what the amounts are. Courtney put together a nice little table, so you don't have to pull it out of every proposal. I will do that. And I'm looking for a commissioner to take the lead on those 2 projects on December 2nd, but I'll send it out. And that is it, and it is 9:01. Is there any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Was
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Thank you.
Good
That was a
meeting.
marathon.
Good meeting. Yeah,
That was a good one.
it was.
That's always my favorite.
What?
My favorite